Welcome back. It's a 22nd. So YieldMax reported their dividends, or their report what they're declared what the distributions would be yesterday on the 21st. Just as a quick update, I have it up. PLTY, Morrow, NVDY, all very solid. $7, almost $2, and then $1.62. I'll go to my website and show what the exact percentage basis was. But overall, all the distributions were very solid on a percentage basis, and on a historical trend analysis, they're very good. But Bobo was almost $1. Facebook higher than usual, coming at 63 cents. JPMO 39 cents. GDX and dips 35 to 37 cents. And then Murni was down at 12 cents. And then for the weeklies, LFGY 49 cents. Chippy 39 cents. RDTY, QDTY, let's see, SDDTY, I'll take the 27 to 34 cents. YMAG and YMAX. YMAG was very solid, coming in over 25 cents from YMAX. Pretty standard at 18.6 cents. And then ULTI always standard at that like 10-cent range, it seems. But yeah, to look at these from a percentage basis, going into, I got the Group B. Let me zoom in on this to make it so you can see it a little clearer. But yeah, the first thing I look at is this percentage chart here. This is what the monthly dividend is as a percentage of the ETF price. Generally speaking, anything probably greater than 5 is really good. But let's see, Palantir's was, see if I can read this right, over 10%. NVIDIA at 9.7%. And then even Morrow is pretty good at 7.66%. Then let's see, Murni has a low dividend, but it also has a very low stock price. So even that came in at almost 5%. And Babo with the dollar was 5.7%. And then Facebook 3.9, GDXY and JPMO were pretty similar. It's just like the 2.3 to 2.4 range. But yeah, overall, a very solid dividend or distribution payouts for Group B, I guess headlined by NVIDIA and Palantir. And I know I mentioned all the ETFs, but certainly ETFs drive a significant portion more of the traffic than the other ones. So I came up with this chart here to show people the relative size of these charts. So this is clearly the ones people are focused on, the ones with the higher bars. So you can clearly see, like, we got Misty, over $4 billion market cap. So that one's why, everybody talks about it because it's performance, but they also talk about it because they all own it. We can see like Misty's bigger than, you take all these smaller ones and put them all together, Misty's bigger than them. So that's driving most of your traffic. But Misty's Group D. But as for the next biggest one's the NVIDIA one, which is reported. And NVIDIA's been a stellar performer, close to 10%. Then the next two would be Coney and Tesla. But then we also got Palantir here, which is also one of your Group B holdings. So if you see what the average line would be, basically everything's below the average except for Tesla, Palantir, NVIDIA, and Coney. And I don't know if I said Misty, but yeah, Misty's clearly pulling up the average by itself. But yeah, then everything else is a very minor play. But yeah, and clearly this chart is, I think, driven by the payouts, performance, as well as the ones that are held the most are the ones with probably the highest implied volatility and therefore the highest payouts. So people owning these funds are clearly buying into the ones that pay out the largest distribution on a monthly basis, which makes sense. But therefore, for the purpose of this video, I'll probably focus on NVIDIA and Palantir because people own those the most. But they're also clearly performing the best. So that's pretty stellar. Yeah, if you look at them, so NVIDIA came out mid-2023 at $20 share price. It's currently trading at just under 17. Recent dividend was $1.63, so you clearly see just by the math, it's 10%. Cumulatively, so since inception, NVIDIA has paid out over $31. So an initial investor who bought it for $20 has already gotten $31 back, and they still have their ETF, which is valued at almost $17. So that gives a total return of $47.83, or almost 140% total return percentage basis. And then Palantir, relatively new, October 2024, came out with that higher initial price of $50, although it's currently at $70, while also paying cumulative dividends of $70 or $35. So the initial $50 investment total return has gone up to $105 or 110%. And then I guess jumping into Group B, I just want to look at NVIDIA here a little closer. So you can see the distribution. If I show it, the distribution per share, this one, $1.62, definitely, let's see, more than the last 2 months combined, basically. So very stellar. Aligns with the February 2025's dividend distribution. So very good. You can see here's the kind of the relative performance of the distributions over the last several months. And then just looking at the price. So the price of the ETF here in blue, cumulative dividend, green. You can see that cumulative dividend, boom, just keeps stacking up higher and higher. Exactly what you want to see. And then in addition to that, the ETF price also went up. So you see this, the total return, we jumped from, looks like just under 45 to probably almost 48, 47 and change. I suppose I got the actual total return is this purple line. So you see it jumps from 43.77 up to 47.83. The cumulative dividend keeps growing. And then overall, the NVIDIA fund's performing quite well. That's a very good investment for those who have owned it. That said, I always like to do these different scenarios. People in the YieldMax fund are in it for the income. That said, I always say, if you're in this strategy, I think it's also a good strategy to take maybe some of your distributions or some of your initial investment. Invest in NVDY if you're looking for the income, but also put some in the NVDA, the actual underlying ticker, because as you can see, an initial $2,000 investment back on the inception date in NVDA would be worth $9,276, which outperforms the YieldMax funds. Red being if you reinvested your dividends, blue being if you did not. Even though those are performing quite well at 47.83 and 57.93, but the underlying equity is definitely doing better. But that said, they've all been very good investments, and it's hard to compare good to perfect. But yeah, the NVIDIA underlying stock price has shot back dramatically, which has been good for the NVDY fund. And then the one I think everybody's been watching lately is the Palantir, which came out not too long ago. As far as the distributions, they've been somewhat insane here. It came out at 50. The distributions were all been over 2. Got as high as almost 6 back in February, but then shot to over 7. That's phenomenal. As far as the cumulative distribution would go, so like I said before, the cumulative distribution shown here in green is already added up to $35.08, and the ETF price has shot up to 70. So you see this dramatic outperformance. It can also be seen in this all variables. All the charts are going up. The ETF price has remained above the initial offering price and pretty stable, which is what you like to see. And the cumulative dividend, boom, just keeps boosting the total return. Yeah, I got these other metrics out here on the website. I put them in the description if you want to follow along. Yeah, I try to keep this website updated. I'm going to add in the weeklies here soon, but yeah, I guess my addition for this week is just for those who wanted to see how these funds stack up on a fund-to-fund comparison. Like, what are the big funds? Clearly, Misty by far. And then we got NVIDIA, Tesla, and Coinbase. All high implied volatility, underlying stocks. Like, keep the payout large and keep it coming in. But yeah, that's my update for today. Thanks.